There's no doubt that Simone Biles is the best United States female gymnast that we've ever seen. And considering she's the most decorated female gymnast of all time, you could probably just say she's the greatest to ever do it, period, from any country. However, just like so many woke activist athletes do, especially some of the female ones, when they retire, when they step away from the sport and they're no longer supposed to be competing, they suddenly become advocates for men to come and invade their sports. And certainly transgender athletes, it's been a massive problem that's only getting worse over the past several years, as so many boys and men snap their fingers, decide to change their gender, and suddenly, even though they were average before, start dominating in whatever specific sport that they play. Well, Simone Biles, today of all days, decided to go after one of the people who has been the most, if not the most vocal proponent for keeping men out of women's sports and truly uplifting women as opposed to letting men destroy sports. And that is, of course, Riley Gaines. I was shocked when I saw these tweets going back and forth, but here it is. Simone Biles lobs extreme personal attack at Riley Gaines over criticism of trans athletes. And this all started when Riley Gaines called out a high school softball team that has a male on the team who absolutely dominated, complete game, no hit, shutout, stuff like this on their way to the state championship. And Riley Gaines called it out because when the high school posted, they of course turned the comment section off because they were getting obliterated. Because it's really not fair when you got somebody with a physical, biological advantage who is a man playing against other women. Riley Gaines calls that out, as she's been doing for years. Simone Biles has a problem with that. Biles went after Outkicks Riley Gaines Friday afternoon with a string of inaccurate, ridiculous personal criticisms, all because Gaines pointed out it's unfair for male transgender athletes to dominate women's sports. The disagreement stemmed from Gaines commenting on the transgender softball player that dominated the female competition in Minnesota's state softball championship. When announcing their celebration of male athlete winning by relying on unfair physical advantage, the Minnesota State High School League turned off its comments on X, gained notice, saying comments off to be expected when your star player is a boy. And let's pull that one up right here. I wonder if you can spot the boy. Oh, maybe it's the one that is towering over all the other players that physically dominated them on the field. Yeah, that's the one. And this post is ratioed and no comments. Weird how that works, isn't it? Simone Biles decided to get in on the action here. At Riley Gaines, you're truly sick. All of this campaigning because you lost a race. Straight up sore loser. You should be uplifting the trans community and perhaps find a way to make sports inclusive or creating a new avenue where trans feel safe in sports. Maybe a transgender category in all sports. But instead, you bully them. One thing for sure is no one in sports is safe with you around. Let's dig into this a little bit. Yeah, Riley Gaines competed against Leah Thomas, a man who was an average pedestrian male swimmer until Will Thomas snapped his fingers, changed his name to Leah, started pretending to be a woman, and dominating women's swimming, setting national records, winning national championships. But it goes far beyond just that. Will Thomas, a man with a dick and balls, was in the locker room with the female swimmers. You want to talk about feeling safe? Oh, you're just complaining because you lost a race. It goes well beyond that. And this is about all women participating in sports. And Simone Biles, guess what? You wouldn't have all those medals if you were competing against men. That's the truth of it. That's the reality of it. And now that you're fucking retired, you're free to virtue signal. Would you be saying this if you were, 20, 21 years old and you thought that a man could come on to the Olympic team and maybe take your roster spot? Would you be advocating for the inclusion of trans athletes in your sport? Would you be advocating for a sexual predator like Will Thomas because he gets turned on by pretending to be a woman? That's what his thing is. Autogynephilia, I believe that's what it's called. You'd be comfortable dressed in the locker room next to that freak? Is that what you're saying, Simone Biles? Now, you look at some of these comments. Riley Gaines did respond. This is actually so disappointing. It's not my job or the job of any woman to figure out how to include men in our spaces. Guess what? There is a place where transgender athletes can play in sports. Where they should. Guess what? Will Thomas, Leah Thomas, he can compete in sports all he wants with other men. Boys on the softball team, you know where they should be competing? With other dudes. That's the reality. That is the truth. Where it shouldn't be happening is against women. This shouldn't be that hard to comprehend. But for fake victim, virtue signaling retards like Simone Biles, that is the case. And she's always been one to stick her foot in her mouth from time to time, constant with her. Whether it's complaining about racism this, racism that. Oh, you shouldn't be asking me these questions. I don't feel right. I don't feel well enough to compete. I got this, whatever it fucking may be. It's always something with her. And now that she's retired, this is what it is. Let's look at some of these responses. Men don't belong in women's sports. I say that with my full chest. If men competed against you, you would have lost, but you never had that problem. Now that you're clear, why do you hate women? There's my friend Matthew Marsden. Just like that, you're no longer a role model for little girls. If Larry Nassar came out as trans, would you want him moved to a women's prison? Good point. Simone Biles, one of the people that said Larry Nassar assaulted her. Would you be fine if a person like Larry Nassar, in order to get next to more women, decided to come out as trans? Remind us the last time you competed in a sport against a male. She's trying to keep out women's sports, or women. She's trying to keep men out of women's sports, you repugnant slug. Retired athlete who never had to compete against men wants the little girls who idolized her to have to compete against men. This is absolutely wild. And then she followed it up. Bully someone your own size, which would ironically be a male, at Riley Gaines. Now, Simone Biles is a midget, like a lot of gymnasts are. Do you think Riley Gaines is like 6 foot tall? I've met Riley Gaines. I've talked to Riley Gaines. I've stood next to her. She's like 5'6", which maybe a slightly tall for a girl, probably not for a normal female athlete. 5'6", maybe 5'8" in heels is Riley Gaines. Here's the problem. Here's Will Thomas. Here are the men competing against Riley Gaines. That's just the problem, Simone. Males are much bigger than Riley Gaines. This dude towers over her. And what Riley Gaines has done in the past couple years is probably more trying to protect female athletes than anyone else has done. And like I said, I've met her. I've talked to her. She's a sweetheart. She's awesome. And I totally support what she's doing. But this is where Simone Biles is at, because she realized how much pushback she was getting and she had to double down. And it is a massive self-own for Simone Biles to go on this tangent about you should be uplifting the trans community and perhaps finding a way to make sports inclusive. Men compete with men. Women compete with women. That's what Riley Gaines has been advocating for. She's been advocating for keeping the men out of women's sports. Not to ban them, not to ban trans athletes. Let them play sports, just not against women if they're biological men. This really is not that complex or hard. Simone Biles, an incredibly embarrassing display. Sage Steele put her on blast. Easy to say this, Simone Biles, when you only had to compete against fellow women. Every one of your Olympic medals came competing against women. Riley Gaines was not only forced to compete against a man, but forced to share a locker room with a man. That is sick. Shocked and disappointed you'd attack another woman who has done nothing but uplift other women. If you think it makes sense to create a league for trans people, go for it. Use that huge platform of yours. But to attack Riley for what she has done for little girls who want to be the next Simone Biles is sick. Simone Biles has always had a tendency to stick her foot in her mouth, and everyone, gives her a pass because she's a great athlete. And oh my gosh, what a great role model. Now, this is disgusting. Simone Biles, the most decorated gymnast of all time. But inside, I guess she's a fucking loser because she wants men to dominate women in sports and change next to them in the locker rooms, including sexual predators. Congratulations, Simone Biles. That's what you decided to do today. Let me know your thoughts about this in the comments section below. Smash a like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video out there, and I'll talk to you later.